All right, here we go. Hope everybody's doing good. I'm excited to do this one this season. I'll try to keep these right at 30 minutes, okay? Most of you guys are showing interest in getting something out of this, and some of your parents as well. So I'm going to keep doing them, but I'm going to do my part to keep them short, so y'all don't get bored with them, okay? Here we go, right into it. That was a really good tournament for us. It was the first tournament, and I want to kind of declare here for everybody, players and parents, we went into that tournament with a mindset that work was more important than winning, okay? We did get some wins, obviously, but just, as a general mindset and kind of backing some of my conversation and notes today, it's all based on that. If we were to have went into that tournament where that was flip-flopped, winning was more important than work, then our body of work as coaches would have been slightly different. I think y'all know, there's some things that we did in this tournament that were fun and weren't normally, geared toward a championship game on Sunday. So, having said that, we are extremely proud of y'all as a team. I feel like we hit a lot of the goals that we had out there, which was just simply to perform to our standards. Our standards, if you want to quantify those, our standards on defense, are 850 and above. Our standards on offense is you need to be batting 275 and above. And the majority of our team operated and performed to those standards. So 2 claps there. You guys went out and did it. It was a little bit hot. Wasn't too bad, but it was a little bit hot, so we got a little taste of it. We faced a couple pretty good pitchers and still put the bat on the ball, so that tells me, that we're continuing to progress there. We still have lots of work to do, okay? Don't take that lightly. We've still got some work to do. But for a start of the season, we couldn't have asked for a better tournament and a better performance. So the first thing I'm going to go over, I'm going to do 3 things, okay? Tourney recap real quick. Already done most of that. Number 2, I'm going to go over, a few bullet points, talkables, things of that nature. And then the third and last thing I'll do is a quick errors review, okay? Some of you girls that are newer to the team, just know that when we talk about these things, like in a public sense, it's because I want other girls to hear how I would address and coach your specific error, okay? It's not for me to expose you and, make me feel good. I'm in this at a gritty level. So sometimes we got to get dirty and talk about things so that we can get better, okay? Most of you guys know that, but I just wanted to reiterate it. The stats review overall is really good, okay? We finished at 916 as a team batting. We finished at 460. We finished at 460 as a team batting average and 916 defensively as a team. That 916 is represented by, we had 95 total chances and we only had 8 errors. So like net, that's really good. Anything above 850 is expectation. When we operate in the 900s, we got a chance to win some ball games as long as we're hitting the ball. And when you got a 460 average, that's a representation that you're hitting the ball. So all good things there. Our record ended up being 3-2. That's big for us, okay? We had 2 morning games. We won both of them. For bragging rights, 3-2 looks a lot better than 2-3. So again, we started off on the right foot, and we need to build on that. The 2 losses that we had really just kind of simply come down to us not being able to hit the ball for whatever reason. I don't necessarily think those 2 pitchers were, leaps and bounds better than the others. Just sometimes we go through, a funk. And you can win ball games, okay, if you can't hit the ball very well, but your defense and your pitching has got to step up. So as you guys kind of analyze our performance going forward and we get into the thick of things in a game, I just want to talk about this stuff so those things will come back to you. If we're not hitting the ball, man, we really got to put pressure on ourselves to perform defensively to try and, get the win. As we work down through this, I want you guys to realize that your stats really are just a representation of where we need to focus our specific energy and work on our personal elements, okay? So don't get offended by anything. Our stats in general are good. There's a few of us that struggled in this tournament, and that's okay. It was the first tournament of the season. So just know that the stats show us, where the work is needed. Moving on to number 2, okay? This is a list of talkables and reviewables, things that stood out, attaboys, just quick situations. As we work down through, these talkables, I also want y'all to remember the primary focus, like behind the scenes for us this season, our 3 bullet points are IQ, awareness, and character. And so everything that I do this year, but everything I talk about, everything that us coaches put together and support is going to be an effort to bring attention to one of those 3 things, okay? So keep that in mind. One of the first talkables that stands out is we scored 36 runs in those 5 games. Our opponents only scored 27. Yes, we got our butt kicked in one of the games, 3-14 or something, I think. But, if you just step back and collectively look at our performance, it's not bad, Scoring 36 runs versus 27 is a good place to be. Again, in those low-scoring games, we just really need to make sure that our defense and our pitching, is on point. And some of this is kind of a moot point in terms of, really analyzing the stats from this tournament because, remember, we were work-focused more than winning-focused. So I just want you guys, again, to remember that. The other thing that stands out about y'all this year, us coaches have talked about it, and we unanimously agree. Y'all have grown up, okay? You've grown up. Everybody's got a set of big girl panties now. Our coaching is going to be more effective this year because as players, we're dialed in tighter. We understand the why, and we don't have to spend time working through, emotion and all these other things. So the phrase there that was coined is y'all have that bend but do not break mentality. And we lost the game 3-14, but y'all did not look defeated, and you didn't give up, and we kept swinging and fighting. We still got our butts kicked. And that was also the game Emma had that monster dinger right over center field. So feel good about that. You guys have put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, taken a lot of butt chewings, a lot of constructive criticism, and now we're starting to see the fruits of those labor. They call it poise or polish, okay? We look like a polished team now. So the work that we put in from here forward should really garner some good results for us, y'all. So feel good about that. Y'all look good. Bend, but not break. Emma, okay, I'm going to jump around here a little bit. I just want to quickly go over, again, I know we kind of talked about it in the circle, but I want to talk about, this is for all you pitchers, okay? Listen up. First of all, nobody understands what a pitcher has to go through. You may think you do. You may think, oh, yeah, I understand, or I can relate to whatever pressure they're going through. You can't, okay? Don't even fake it. Pitchers have to be a different breed because the mental attacks that come at you when you're in the middle of a game can take your breath away, right? So what I want to talk about with Emma is collectively, Audrey had an error at first where she dropped the ball. Audrey, you and I have already spoke. No big deal there, but that's part of the story. So we had 2 outs when that happened, and Emma's a seasoned pitcher, okay? Y'all are for the most part. And where I'm going with this is just simply, you have to remember that you can break the sequence of what's happening and call your own timeout. Catcher, that's specifically your job. So what I did was, after that error, I started watching Emma's body language, and I can tell that she was still just a hair frustrated. Rattled is not the right term because she's fine. She's not rattled out of her core, but she's frustrated. Started throwing a couple balls high. So after ball number 2, called a timeout. I walked out there and very calmly told her, you've been in this position before. We identified that the bases were loaded. You have 2 outs. Just get a ground ball and let's get out of here. And to y'all's credit, you finished the circle, came back. I think there was maybe 2 or 3 more pitches she fouled off. Boom. Then we got a ground ball to 2, and it was over. So the message and the coaching part of that is, the maturity element is, I want my catchers to try to be able to recognize that. And there's a little bit of an advantage in strategy to that. Sometimes the coach needs to call a timeout, okay? Players got to see the coach. We got to come out. We got to do our thing, whatever. But a lot of times you can get away with getting those same results if Chloe or Maddie or whoever was catching calls timeout and comes up and says the exact same thing. So I just want you all to know that you have the power as a player, and you can do those same things that us coaches try to do. But the message, the true message behind me bringing all that up is, Emma, you did a great job. Excuse me, you fixed the mindset, came back and got the out. So people don't understand how intense that is for a pitcher. So 2 claps. Catherine, you had a long inning, okay? And what I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart is, there was nothing behind the effort of us leaving you in that inning, that long inning, other than we wanted you to work out of it. And, you know, in the moment, people may have been saying things to the effect of, you know, man, they should really pull her out, or she's not struggling, or she's struggling, or she doesn't have it, or whatever. I totally understand that, okay? And if our mindset would have been primarily focused on winning over work, after the 3rd walk, we would have pulled you out, and we would have brought in number 2. And after she walked 2, we would have pulled her out. So there is a difference in how we approach this. We're not negligent. We weren't being lazy and none of those things, okay? Your job in that element was to get your butt out of the inning. And we learned some things there. We learned that our defense, you know, really needs to be on point and help us. If a pitcher is struggling, sometimes she likes to be able to rely on the defense. So we don't need to, I'm not trying to hash through that. I just want to, I don't know, touch it again and touch the situation again, so that Catherine, you realize that, like, we didn't think anything bad of you. You know, you've had a rough go. You're working yourself back in, and guess what? Now we know we need to focus our effort a little bit more. So great job getting out of that inning. I told you when you walked off the field, probably doesn't feel like a win, but that's a micro win for us. So good job, Catherine. Malia, okay? 2 claps. There is something that is very noticeable about you showing up on game 2, right? And I'm not going to go into a big long-winded description of that, but it says and shows a lot. We appreciate it. Your teammates saw it. We put you on the field and you produce. So 2 claps. Appreciate you showing up. Thank you, Malia. French fry, okay? Wow. The play that I saw out of you in left field was probably the best top-end aggressiveness and athletic performance I've ever seen. So I don't know what vitamin you took that morning, or, you know, what grade of milk you drank, but do it again, because that's what we need to see. And that kind of leads me into talking about, you know, the whole reason Fry was over in left field, proving and showing those things is, you know, one of the beautiful things about us having a stacked roster is when someone's having a bad day, physically or mentally, and coaches, we can read that, you know, we can move and rotate y'all around, and there's no drop-off. There's no, oh, okay, well, now we got a big hole over here or whatever. So, you know, the long story short on that was Shay was getting frustrated over there in left field, and we made a switch. And Fry was motivated by that, because she knew that based on how that game was going, that a lot of balls were going, you know, to left field. So we moved Fry from right over to left and switched Shay, moved Shay from left over to right, and Fry knocked it out of the park. So, Shay, I don't want you to feel embarrassed or bad or any of those things. But, Shay, my conversation to you would be this. You really only had 1 error, okay, on that deep pop fly. Everything else that you didn't get or you missed after that was what us coaches call a hell of an attempt, and you just came up short. So, you know, I've already had some messages and talked to you and text you about some of those things, but what you need to realize is that fire and passion that you have is a double-edged sword. And if you let yourself use the bad side of that sword, it's going to cut you. So I want you to work on understanding there are going to be numerous times you lay out for a ball and you don't get it. That's not an error. And it's certainly not something to beat yourself up over because you didn't get it. Now, that error that you did make, I will tell you this. It just comes down to simply being more aware of your surroundings, okay? A higher degree of comfort knowing, that we got the back fence right here and the ball's coming. I've seen you make those catches before. So the reality is you just have to stay on point and be ready and be good up against the fence, right? So chin up. We'll get back to work. I have no worries about either one of you, but that's the beauty of it. Shay, got moved and somebody stepped in and filled that role and knocked it out of the park. So great job, okay? And Shay, I'm serious. I don't want you to feel any kind of way about that. Emma, great job overall. One thing that I noticed, those coaches were talking about is it's nice that you already have the level of pitching stamina that you have. Because as soon as all, 4 or 5 of our pitchers are back and everybody's on, the same roster for the same tournament, we're going to be deadly. We've got two high velo delivery pitchers, and we've got 2 or 3 lower velo delivery pitchers. So it's a really good place to be in terms of a pitching roster. And Emma, I want to thank you for your performance there that weekend. Moving on to Kaylee, okay, great job. I've texted you some messages. The thing that stands out to me the most as a coach is, I'm sure you were nervous and your heart was beating out of your chest in certain elements, but you've got a really good way of poising yourself and showing poise. And now what I need you to do is to shift the gear, turn your hat backwards, and now start being more animated and audible and more aggressive physically, okay? You've got some things in there, and I think we're going to be able to see those here in this next tournament. So, Kaylee, great job. Way to step up. Bright future. I'm expecting a lot out of you, okay? Let's get to work. I'm not going to talk a lot about the sliding, but I do need you to understand it's an important element. I know you can do it. Most of the time, people that have trouble sliding, it's all up here, and it's an aggressive issue, okay? If you can't flip the switch and become aggressive in that moment, sliding becomes more difficult, okay? Turn the hat backwards, go lay out some cardboard, and get 100 slides in. You should be able to pop slide when nobody's around, and I want you to be able to perfect going head first, sliding. So work on those things, please. Ellie Joe. Personally, I saw probably some of the most outstanding shortstop play from you that I've ever seen. So again, great job. But what that does for us, as a coaching staff, is really create a lot of versatility in our lineup. And we're going to keep moving y'all around if you keep performing. So great job. And that home run was money. Man, there's nothing better than hitting a freaking dinger on the first pitch and setting the tone. So good stuff. Keep that coming. CeeLo, I think what you're seeing right now is the fruits of your labor and your work, even coming into this tournament. You were solid. Your defensive efforts were solid. Your defensive numbers are solid. Your offensive numbers are solid. Looked like, you were stealing bases. I think you had, 4, 5, 6 of them. So everything is right there in line with expectation, okay? Other than giving you an attaboy, I don't have anything to critique other than, dude, I'm going to hurt you. Other than, I need you to become more audible and more aggressive and bring that audibleness out in a playful, aggressive manner with the girls. Okay, I think we'll continue to see good results from that. I love your play. I love your work ethic. Thank you, CeeLo. For Geeta, Chick, you finished tournament with 917, okay? On defense. That's really, 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 really good. I know you're frustrated, okay? Your offensive performance you struggled. That's the only way to say it. And it's okay. Sometimes one half of our game is on point and the other half is not. You are in a scenario based on the stats right now where your defensive is good. You had one error and that sucked, but a few pitches later we got out of that inning. You had 8 or 9 total chances, and you only made 1 error. So be proud of that. On your offensive side of things, I don't want you to be so discouraged that you stop working. And I know you won't, but I want you to keep working on offense and fix that. You're too good of a hitter for us not to get that from you, okay? You hit, you're a power hitter. You're a stand-up double. You hit a triple in that game. So you're missing low, and you're popping the ball up, okay? Give Ellie a call and talk to her about how to fix that. Okay, here it is. Here's the last element to go over, and it's a little bit deeper review of a few errors, okay? We didn't have very many errors. We only had, I don't know, what I say, 8 errors earlier. So the ones I'm going to talk about here are just to give you something to think about. It's done. It's water under the bridge. I'm not scolding anybody, just coaching. Audrey, we've spoke about that, so I'm going to save my time here and not give everybody that. But in short order, what I've told Audrey is she needed to be the one in the moment after that error where she has the shortest memory on the team. Super hard to do, but that's what we got to get to. In that moment, that if that happens again to Audrey or anybody, I need that person to explode out of their shell in a positive emotional sense, and you be the one that fires up the pitcher, reinvigorates her, whatever she had going up to that point, so that you can, like, automatically in the moment help offset whatever you are part of, right? Which was the error. So that's really the key there. That's for all of you. Somebody bobbles it at shortstop, I don't care, tap your chest, and then you immediately become positive and work harder. I don't want to see any body language and all that other stuff, okay? We're moving on. Kaylee, I think you only had 1 error, 1 or 2 maybe, but the one I'm going to talk about here is just simply the drop ball, okay? High pop flies that take you back to the fence are not easy to catch. We get it. But the tough love in this is, and the motivating love in this is, I don't care. You're better than that. So the only thing you can do better in that situation is to simply become more aware of your surroundings and your position to the ball. And the only way you can really do that is to drop a shoulder and try to get back to where the ball is going to land before, and if you get back there at the same time, I understand, the degree of difficulty is even higher. But look, we all know you can catch balls, so don't worry about it. I didn't see any bad or negative body language, so that's great. Really nothing else to say. So good job. I just wanted to kind of give you my thoughts on that. Shamo, I don't know, you were frustrated in that game, and really the shortest answer, or the shortest feedback to this is we got to get to a point where when you pop or get frustrated, it doesn't take over. You got to figure out a way to let that stuff boil, but keep it condensed under pressure, and then come use it on your next at bat, because you had 2 Ks looking, which is uncharacteristic of you, but you still batted, your batting average still came in at 556, okay? So you were above 500. You may have been frustrated with yourself about those plays, but I got to peel that apart so that you realize you only had 1 error out in the field. And then you let those other 2 plays that you missed turn into frustrations, right? And those weren't errors. You didn't get recorded errors for those plays. So stay motivated. Catherine, I don't remember exactly what your errors were, but I would say that, again, for you, it's probably just a rep thing, okay? Think about your body awareness, and sometimes we have to learn how to be athletic when you're in the air, catching a ball. Those balls coming over to first aren't always on point. So, good job, but that would be my review for you on how to fix that. Again, y'all finished at 916 as a team on defense and 460 on offense. So, in my mind, there's a lot of good stuff there. I'm going to finish with these 3 notes, and we're out of here. All right. IQ, awareness, and character are the 3 bullet points that we're focusing on. So in closing, what I want you all to do is to focus on becoming better when you process, okay? We need to be able to process faster. We need to be able to process more aggressive on the field. So that's probably one of the next things that I want us to really put our foot on and get better at is processing what needs to happen faster. That falls under awareness and IQ, okay? As we progress through the summer, these tournaments that we have scheduled, I need you guys to realize this, okay? Pool play games are for y'all to work on your stats and prove that you deserve to be playing on Sundays. Point blank. That is what it is. That's our motto. The next thing is I gave you guys a little bit of a speech on what it means to be an external player versus an internal player. I need y'all to become external players. If you're an internal player and you get mad at yourself and you allow yourself to have all these internal conversations and they're not positive, then you ruin the energy of everybody else around you and you steal it and you create negative energy. If you operate as an external player, meaning that you're always being aware of how your actions could affect someone else, then you're going to exude positive energy. That's what we need. We need external players, not internal players. Pitchers, body language, okay? I know some of you were getting irritated. You weren't getting a strike. I absolutely do not want to see 1 ounce of body language. As soon as you start doing that, you're going to take your name off of the list from recruiters. They do not want antics out in the circle. And in closing, we're working this hard because y'all need to have all these kinks worked out before you go to college, because there's a whole new set of bullet points that y'all be working on there. So the faster we get this stuff mastered, the faster we can get into understanding what happens at the next level. So appreciate y'all. Love you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.